Hello, students. This is Mr. Martin from the past. Today you are going to be working on your theory packets. I went through everything with you yesterday. You should be in your assigned seats. You should have, everyone should have a theory packet. Everyone should have a pencil, a clipboard, and your folder with the theory packet. Don't forget when you're done to turn them in underneath the window by my office. I'm going to go through each classes parts, so you may have to fast forward a bit to find yours if you're not in the first hour. But go ahead until you see your own theory packet, and I'll explain quickly. Sixth graders, you have the treble clef, and otherwise known as the G clef. Here it shows you steps on how to create it. You may read these instructions together in class, which would be a really nice way to get started. Here you will draw some treble clefs. After that, you have the bass clef, which is different. It looks a little bit like an F. Where the dots are matter, so make sure you do that in the right place. Here it's asking you to draw an entire staff, so 5 lines all the way across, and then draw a bass clef sign. Make a few of them. On page 6, we learned about ledger lines. These are notes higher or lower than the ones on the staff. The notes on the staff are lines every good boy deserves fudge and face. Now we're learning about some notes that are higher and lower. You're going to copy these over after reading these together. Again, here are some notes starting with F as in fudge. Every good boy deserves fudge on the top line. Copy that over. Here it starts with D on the bottom of the staff. Underneath it, notice that this hugs the bottom of the staff. And then we have this ledger line, then below this ledger line, and then the second ledger line. Copy those over. Make it look just right. Here it says draw a staff with a treble clef sign. Put in all the notes from middle C to C on the second ledger line above the staff. Oh my. That's starting here on this middle C, going all the way up to here, and everything in between. Do your best. Now, on number 7, we have a note review. You know these because they're in order. Every good boy deserves fudge and face. Here you're going to name them. You might have to look on the last page to find these notes here, or these notes. Here you're actually going to draw the notes. A is part of face, F-A-C-E. So first space F, second space A, I would draw right there. And then it says mark the line notes with an X and circle all the space notes. So look at all these notes that you drew here and mark them like it says. Page 8, this is summing up with the information that you've read on the last few pages. You may have to go back to lesson 1 to find some, but all of them are in your packet over the last couple pages. Find the correct word, write it in. Okay, time for the cadet choir and Men in Black 7th graders on lesson 21. We are looking at eighth notes, and we see that's what they look like, quarter notes with a flag or a beam. Here you need to draw some pairs of beamed eighth notes that look like this. One pair stems up, one pair stems down. If you copy this, you'll be right. Here's some musical math where it shows you if a half a beat for each one equals 1 beat for a quarter note. Here you're filling in the missing beats. Look at the time signature to know how many beats you need. 2/4 time, add an eighth note here, and we have 1, 2, and that fills up that entire measure. If you have trouble, try tapping your chest the way that we do in class for sight reading until you find what's missing in that time signature. 2/4 only has 2 taps. 4/4 has 4 taps, but remember you're going to add the and in between for any eighth notes. Here you're counting the beats and adding them up. Same thing here, but you're using notes. On lesson 22, it's the same thing except it's rests. Eighth rests can't be beamed, only the notes. So they're all individual little 7s. Remember I suggested using a plus instead of the ampersand here. Here, fill in the missing beats. Make sure you see 2/4 time. Here, 3/4, and you can use notes or rests for this one. And then finally, these 3 time signatures are 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4 we decided. Fill in so every measure is complete. You can use any notes you want, but in 2/4 time, the biggest note you could use is a half note. 3/4, the biggest note is a dotted half note like this. 4/4, the biggest you can use is a whole note. Okay? Complete those, put them in the box, turn it in. Let's get it done. Finally, 8th graders in the Men in Black and in the Cardinal Singers. Chromatic intervals are tough. I've asked Jesse in the Men in Black, and I'll ask a student in the Cardinal Singers as well, to be on the piano to help with these. When you do all white notes starting from C, the notes that you use are going to be major and perfect intervals. That we discovered on the last page. On here, we're using the other notes. So for example, a major second is do to re, but do to ra, and if you look at the chart, you see that's a flat note. Do to ra is a minor second, so it's smaller, 1/2 step smaller than a major second. Any major interval is made a 1/2 step smaller, becomes a minor, unless it's a perfect interval. If it's already minor, or if it's a perfect interval, you take away a 1/2 step and you get a diminished interval. This is tough to understand. A C and a B flat, like we had above, do to ra, that's a minor second. Now if you went from do to a double flat, there's not even a name for that. It's actually the same pitch as do. That's a diminished second. It only matters in the way it's written, not in the way that it actually sounds. Same thing here. If you have a minor third, do to me, and then you flat that again with a double flat, now you have a diminished third. And I don't have a name for that. You would sing the same note as ra or re. If it's a 1/2 step higher than a major, you're going to have an augmented. You're going to make it bigger. So, perfect prime, and then if you do from do to do sharp, D, that's an augmented prime. I know, it gets a little crazy. So, if you see a flat or a sharp, just know that it's going to be a major or minor interval. In this case, all of the ones with sharps are going to be major or augmented. All the ones with flats are going to be minor. A double flat has to be diminished. So here you have to write in number 2 which ones are, which one you would do to do this. Start with the number and just write in the note, and then add the flats or sharps accordingly. Augmented adds sharps, diminished adds flats or double flats. And then here, look at the 2 notes to find your number. Like this is a 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But it's from C to B double flat. We learned double flats have to be diminished. So that would be a diminished 7th. All right. Do the best you can on these and use the piano to help find the notes. That will help as well. All right. The review is here, which should be easier. If that you have trouble there, you will definitely be able to get the review. Find these in the couple pages before, up to 49. Name your intervals. Some will be diminished or augmented, or major or minor. Write the intervals. Name the intervals, bass clef, and then write the intervals. That same skill. Use the scale on the wall. Use a keyboard if you need to, and that will help you find those intervals. If they're just in the regular major scale on the white notes, basically for our purposes here, if they're on the white notes, it's going to be major or perfect. If it's flatted, it'll be minor or diminished. If it's sharped, it's going to be augmented. All right. Good luck. Get them turned in.